Hey, it's Matt here. So I thought I would go ahead and start a line of videos that are while I'm driving. A lot of people tend to do that, and I think it's a great idea because, well, driving is fairly boring to me, and I do it about 6 to 8 times back and forth to work and back on my work days, so something to do. Anyways, the topic of discussion, obviously, as you've seen here, is regarding compassion and accountability. And the question I ask here for everyone watching this is, where is a line drawn between compassion and accountability? And what I mean by that is compassion, the whole philosophy of it, and it's something that I stand by. The philosophy of it is to, no matter how innately wrong or bad a person, a being may be, you are able to see what are the reasons they ended up that way, or what are the reasons that have drawn them to become this or whatever, and you're supposed to feel united with them in the fact that they are also human, or it could be animal or whatever. But you're supposed to feel like with compassion, it's all about connecting with the person and seeing the world through their eyes. And it's not even feeling sorry for them. It's not that. Many people think it is pity, but it's not. It's about, it's basically about understanding. And the question is, though, what brought this up is that there's this guy at work that he's totally incompetent. He's just plain, well, he's stupid. And dealing with him is a real pain. And I'm finding myself kind of treating him poorly because of that, but then I try to correct myself, because being compassionate means that this person is this way for a reason. I mean, and is it necessarily his fault that he's incompetent? It could be either a biological, environmental, or attitude type of reasoning as to why he is that way. So if it's biological or it's environmental, is it necessarily his fault that he's that way? Maybe he was dropped on his head as a child. Maybe he was just born genetically to be incompetent. So if that's the case, should he be held accountable for the way he is? Now, if it's the third thing, which is attitude, then yeah, that does require motivation. It requires, you know, I guess, some form of motivation. But, I mean, doesn't all three, those, I mean, don't all three of those require some sort of motivation? Like, you gotta, like, motivate someone positively to make a positive change in their life. If it's the case of incompetence, or if you go to the extremes, look at, like, murder. Is it really that person's fault? In essence, their fault for being a murderer. Something might have happened when they were a child that set all the pieces in order to make them a murderer, or something biological could have been set up to where they couldn't help but become a murderer, or is an attitude. So maybe, I don't know, my question is to you guys, what do you think about this? I guess when I say accountable, it's kind of hard to describe, but when I say accountable, I mean you lose respect for that person. You know, I mean, think about this. Let this kind of get in your head for a little bit. Okay. take two people. One person had the ideal childhood, grew up with wonderful parents in rich conditions, wonderful situation in life, perfect upbringing, and they eventually down the road in their adult life, they commit a robbery. Okay. Now take another person that had a horrible childhood, abuse, neglect, poor living conditions, surrounded by violence, etc., etc. And that same person commits a robbery as an adult. Now, who would you naturally blame first? Who would you naturally feel is more accountable for their actions? What if that person committed a murder? Would that, I mean, the person who had poor living conditions, would he commit if he committed a murder, would that be equal to or lesser than the crime of robbery that the other person had committed? Through the eyes of the criminal. Through the eyes of the criminal. Alright? Taking into account all the environmental factors. Alright, just, I don't know, just think about that. It boggles my mind, and compassion versus accountability is something that has always been a little confusing to me. So what do you guys think? Let me know.